Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, a Baxter Professional Services production. Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, where we're experts in nursing and experts in business. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. Today's guest is Savannah Arroyo, and today's episode, How One Nurse Turned Real Estate Investor Helps Other Nurses Do the Same.
Yeah, I would just say I've talked to so many people over the years who are interested in changing their life and want to create more control over their financial future. And the people who I've seen be the most successful are the ones who are consistently taking action, being able to create a vision for yourself and some action steps to get there. That has paid off tremendously in my life and is something I can't recommend enough, just setting goals.
Nurses, are you ready for more? My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining confidence, skills, and the freedom to live your life on your own terms. Assisting you in achieving your goals through tailored advice, continuous learning, and a collaborative approach is at the heart of everything I do. Stop being eaten alive. Come feel the sun. Be a nurse shark. And welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. We interview nurse leaders and encourage them to tell their story. My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining the confidence, skills, and freedom to live your life on your own terms. You will dream big and expand your consciousness as an entrepreneur. Join us and support these wonderful nurse entrepreneurs and leaders. Today's guest is Savannah Arroyo, out of Santa Rosa, California, with Networth Nurse. Welcome to the show, Savannah.
Hi, yeah, thank you. I am stoked to be here.
Great. And you know what? I can tell you're from California because you said stoked.
Okay, yes.
One of my favorite shows was Full House.
Oh, yeah, great.
But I'm dating myself there. All right. So I want to ask you our first question. What made you become a nurse?
Yeah, I have really known at a young age that I wanted to be a nurse. I loved the caretaking aspect of it, to be able to care for someone when they're really weak and vulnerable, needing assistance. But I really went right out of high school pursuing a nursing degree, and then ended up getting my bachelor's from Sacramento State University. And as I even started working in the hospital, I was naturally drawn towards process improvement and leadership initiatives. And so really early on into my nursing career, I went back to school and I got my MSN in nursing leadership and administration.
That's awesome. Now, is that comparable to what most people think of the MSN MBA type programs?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And so what made you drawn to leadership? I mean, have you always been a leader? I mean, were you growing up just dictating to people and telling them what to do?
No, I think what I loved about the leadership in nursing is, although I loved patient care, I really loved supporting nurses more and creating different processes and initiatives, like improving current workflows, like being able to achieve adequate resources to actually carry out your role as a nurse. Like all of that operational aspect really piqued my interest a lot more than even patient care.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I do say that there has to be someone that can take a step back and look at that bigger picture, because sometimes when you're in the trenches, right, it's difficult to see everything else that's going on around you.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So I applaud that. So where did you get your master's then?
Walden University.
Oh, Walden. Okay. All right. Okay. And so then tell me, what was your very first nursing job coming out of nursing school?
Yeah, it was a medical surgical floor oncology specialty in Modesto, California, so Central Valley. I did have to relocate as a new grad, just looking to get experience my first year as a nurse. And they had a wonderful nurse residency program. I was on an oncology floor. So I was, 24 and body bagging patients every week. So it was a pretty harsh entry into nursing at such a young age. But since then, I have worked in so many different specialties, telemetry, pre-op, I did PACU. When I went into leadership, I started helping in procedural units, orthopedics. I oversaw an orthopedic practice. And then moved into an acute care setting and did cath lab, special procedures, GI, oversaw those departments from an assistant manager position, and then went back into an orthopedic floor.
Okay. So you went to the manager level, like I would say, what is that? Middle management,
Yep,
manager level type
exactly.
thing.
Yes.
And so that is a career path for some nurses that sometimes they're afraid to take. They don't want to take on that responsibility of being a manager. How did you handle that responsibility at such a young age?
Yeah, I had a really great program. They provided really great mentorship coming into different supervisor leadership roles, different health streams that you could do, like from a course-based perspective, but also hands-on where you'd get to touch base with a mentor and just have different reflecting opportunities and someone to just kind of chat with if anything difficult came up. Really leaned on camaraderie within the hospital and tapping into the managers within other departments if I ever had any questions or needed help figuring anything out. But a lot of it is really learning as you go. And there were, a lot of mistakes that I made early on, but overall they improved my capacity to lead and taught me many valuable things.
I remember I started out in management. Our hospital had like a manager university that you had to go to, and they had a series of courses you were required to take that was contained within the university, so that you would learn things like, how to talk to people,
Yeah,
how to discipline appropriately,
yeah.
How to develop those leadership skills as well. You mentioned having made some mistakes. Can you tell me what mistakes kind of stick out to you, so that maybe someone listening, because we have some students that listen to this and they're thinking of going into management when they go into nursing, maybe it could help them to kind of avoid some of those landmines?
Yeah. So with Providence Health, the system that I worked with for over 8 years in California, I was introduced into an ambulatory care setting as of the first registered nurse within a clinical practice. And historically, I mean, these are the think of a doctor's office for orthopedics,
Mm-hmm.
and they're primarily ran by, there's physicians in there and medical assistants and some x-ray techs because we were an ortho specialty, but never have nurses been integrated into that. And I was working with a leadership team that heavily believed in the nurses' influence and just overall place within these facilities. And so Providence was going through a process of integrating RNs as like a clinical supervisor within these ambulatory practices and all sorts of different specialties. And I was placed into an orthopedic office. We had 11 surgeons, 4 different offices. And from the outside nursing leadership perspective, I was to go in there with my nursing eyes and help improve anything. There was a lot of things that they wanted to maintain consistency of, that they wanted to really make universal across the different facilities. And that was a big role, making sure everything was up to guidelines for Medicare and Joint Commission and that type of stuff. And so there was some nuanced tasks in there, and it was interesting coming on with the leadership background as a nurse. I was going in there ready to make changes and do big things, because that's what was being encouraged to me by these nursing leaders. And it was really only after I got to really know the doctors and the team there and working there really hands-on in those roles did I really get to see where the improvements could be made. And so I know there was some little things, that the changes that I had to make early on, like the sharps containers and the garbage cans, and it really irked the physicians, different changes that I was making. And in hindsight, I wish that some of the guidance I would have been given would have been to really cultivate those relationships first, given maybe like 3 to 6 months to be in there and having a place and showing my role before being almost forced to make a lot of these changes, because it ruffled a lot of feathers and it kind of made me feel like an outsider coming in. And it ended up being, a big lesson learned.
That's a tough position, because I've been in the position of creating roles. I was the first evening shift supervisor at the psychiatric unit, and then I became the first nurse educator at an addictions hospital. And so when you're creating those roles, that buy-in that you have from the other people, because you're seen as the outsider coming in to fix things. And I think, and I don't know, I'm not speaking for these doctors, but oftentimes people feel like someone is overstepping or looking at what they're doing and saying what they've been doing in the past is wrong. And so having those conversations and building those relationships is so very important, to getting to know each office's quirks. So I worked for a system where inside the larger practice, you had pods, is what we called them, which were basically independent physician offices inside the whole building. So each pod was an independent practice. So you can imagine how difficult that was for them to collaborate on some things, to where I was outpatient, so I didn't go into the building as much, but I saw their patients in the nursing home, and they kept discharging the patient. And I said, you don't have to close the patient out, just transfer them to our service. But it was getting that mindset to change of, this is my pod. And, it was, oh, you got this piece of equipment. Which pod did you get it from? Did you charge it to your pod? It was all those types of things. And so I can imagine going in and doing with different doctors. Everybody has their own flow and how they do that. How best do you manage getting those relationships and cultivating them? How would you suggest that would be best done?
Yeah, I mean, really kind of opening the conversation that you're here to help, and that ultimately you're all on the same team. Like, you guys ultimately have the same goal of treating patients with the best care, improving outcomes, making sure that they're receiving the care that they need, and improving workflows. And so really coming at it from that common ground standpoint is really helpful early on, showing that you're on the same team and being willing to help. I remember sitting down with every single one of the physicians and asking them specifically if there was anything that they specifically needed help with, or any way that I could help with anything that they've noticed, and them just being able to voice their concerns and have that platform to share. I felt really kind of built that trust. And then as the time moved on and I was actually able to fulfill some of their wishes and see some of the things through that they wanted to see implemented, it really helped to further that trust.
Awesome. Well, you know what? It's one of those, we lost that art a little bit during the pandemic, right? Because we were all home and in our own silos, and we had to renegotiate how to talk to people again and be in their faces. So I think it's encouraging to hear about some of these lessons, because we tend to forget the niceties. And good example today at my business, at my job. And there was an email that was sent. I was on the email. It wasn't directed towards me, but one of the other providers was like, ooh, that's kind of harsh. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that they were just trying to give information, but it kind of came out as kind of snarky. So with, electronic media and things like that, you're sending emails, sometimes the intent gets lost. And I'm very bad at this too. Sometimes I write out what I want to say, right? When I'm doing an email, I write out, hey, this is the information I want to convey. But then I go back before I hit send and I check to see if I've at least said hello. Yeah. Because in our everyday world, everything's go. It's easy to just type off an email response or send a text message and say, this is what I want. And you miss having those niceties of saying, how's your day? You know,
Yeah.
I wanted to share this information with you. Get back with me when you can. It's not, those types of things really help to foster that and kind of take the sting out of sometimes giving that information. So I had to talk to another colleague down. I said, yeah, but it wasn't directed towards us. And I think it'd be okay. They're just trying to convey the information in a timely fashion. I don't think they meant it to, insult anyone, but it can get sticky. So what are you up to now?
Yeah, so I had always had my eyes set on becoming a CNO, a chief nursing officer. And so I started climbing the corporate ladder. I was really doing all the things to get there. And it really wasn't until the beginning of 2020, after having my second daughter, that my priorities really shifted. It was really looking at my Monday through Friday, very demanding nursing job, both my husband and his very demanding job. And it just really didn't allow the flexibility that we wanted to have in our child's lives as they were growing up. And it made us really look at our money and our finances. And it was in desperation, sitting to Googling passive income, how to build wealth, financial independence, retire early, all these terms, financial wellness, literacy, and researching over and over again. Real estate investing kept popping up as one of the best ways to build wealth, something all the millionaires, mega millionaires owned, all the tax benefits. I kept seeing it again and again and started just educating myself, just went all in. I was listening to podcasts on my hour commute to work, my hour commute home. It was reading books, joining communities, talking to people, and really went all in investing in real estate, and didn't have any money at the time to get started, but it was researching and learning about different ways to tap into capital. Like I took out a second mortgage on my primary residence and used that to buy investment properties that were cash flowing enough to pay down that loan and put money back into my pocket every month. And so started learning about different ways to create additional wealth in my life, so I wasn't as dependent on my W-2 income anymore. It was having to go back to work after both my girls were 3 months old. And I was in my kitchen having a full-blown panic attack, like just did not wanted to stay home with my baby, but I didn't have a choice. I had one source of income coming in, my employer. And if I wasn't trading my time for money and going into work, I wasn't going to be making any money. And that was a very big aha realization moment for me. And so really set out on a mission to change that and to create a lot more financial freedom in my life, and used real estate investing to get there.
Okay. All right. Well, that's great. So are you still working on the unit at all, or?
So I work, I'm part-time on a ortho med-surg night shift. I've been doing that for the last 2 years, and I'm working my last 2 shifts this weekend, this Friday and Saturday, and I will be done. I will be wrapping up a 10-year nursing career.
All right. So I always say, you know what, you can leave your job, but you don't have to leave your profession. So what's next for you on the horizon?
Yeah. So continuing to invest in real estate. So as I started learning about all this information for my own life, I became really passionate about sharing these investment strategies and information with other nurses. So I started Networth Nurse. That's my social media account. I'm really big on Instagram, but also LinkedIn, TikTok, really across the board. I got a YouTube channel, and I've just become really inspired to connect with other nurses about these different resources. And the current investments that we do right now is we actually partner with other nurses who want to invest in real estate, but don't necessarily want to do all the work that is involved with finding a property and maintaining a tenant and taking care of the 3 T's, the toilets, tenants, and trash. And through real estate syndications, which is what we do, they're group investments. We go out and we buy apartment complexes partnered alongside other healthcare professionals, and in a sense are now growing their wealth at the same time. So it's been really amazing to help hundreds of other healthcare professionals get started in real estate investing. I'm working with nurses and doctors who have been able to go from full-time down to part-time, just providing additional streams of income into their lives as well.
Oh, that sounds great. That sounds great. And so, with how you work with the real estate investment, you mentioned having the let me see if I get this right. Um, Syndication. So,
Yeah.
can you explain a little bit more about what that means?
Yeah. So a real estate syndication is really people pooling together their resources so they could go out and buy a asset that they normally couldn't buy on their own. So think apartment complexes or mobile home parks. One of the most infamous real estate syndications is actually the Empire State Building. So that building is owned by a bunch of different investors. And
Hmm.
when you go together in a group style investment and go out and buy these larger assets, that really lowers a lot of the risk that's involved. So for me, I got started investing in single family homes, and I took out that second mortgage to buy 2 single family homes across the country in Atlanta, Georgia. And they were single family homes cash flowing a couple $100 a month. And it was at the 6-month mark where I had one of my tenants move out and I had to repaint the entire place for $6,000 that I realized, wow, I'm not going to cash flow on this now for another year or so. And started learning about investing in real estate through multiples. So in multifamily and apartment complexes, when one tenant moves out, you still have a lot of other income coming in. And what we invest in primarily is value add deals. So we're looking for ways that we can add value and force appreciation into a deal. So almost like flipping apartment complexes in a 3 to 5 year period. So we're buying buildings from really mismanaged owners. Maybe they've been owned in the same family for generations. There's a lot of people who have different repairs and renovations that need to be done on the property, but they don't have the reserves. Like one of our last buildings, the roof went out, but the owner didn't have $80,000 to repair the roof. It's easier for them to just sell the building than it is to take care of it. And as investors, that's where we see the huge opportunity to come in here, buy these investments, take care of the roof. We can add value to these properties and in a sense, sell them for a lot more value just a few years down the road.
And so then who manages the portfolios? I mean, are you guys actively managing it? I mean, how, I guess I'm trying to picture, do you get like a dashboard or something to look at? For example, there's a couple of stocks I've invested in. I can see what's happening with my stocks. So how does someone do that?
Yep. So if you're interested in real estate and syndications and are interested in becoming a what's called a limited partner, an LP or a passive investor in one of these deals, most syndicators or operators have a portal. So yes, I do have an investor portal, and on there is where when we get a new investment opportunity, and we do about 2 to 3 deals a year. When we get a new investment opportunity, we put together a full presentation for it. And in the presentation, we show what market it's in, why we love the market. We show all the financials, how the building has been making money, where we plan to improve the business strategy. We show timelines and pictures, and all the details are in that presentation. We also hop in front of the camera and do like a 20-30 minute video going through the entire presentation. And then from there, our investors get to make the decision whether they want to invest through the portal, like with a click of a button. And then they get access to legal documents, really similar to anything that signed for an investment like your 401k or your IRA account. And all of that is electronically signed and saved to the portal. And then from there, it connects directly to the bank account and you can make your wire. And then we, every 3 months, we do quarterly communications to our investors. So we send out a newsletter with what's going on with the property. We have pictures, updates. We give full access to our financials. So all our investors can see exactly where the money is coming and going in the buildings, the full P&Ls, the profit and loss statements. And then we send out distributions every 3 months. So it goes direct to their bank accounts. Every 3 months, we're sending out a distribution on these projects. And so, yeah, in a sense, everything is all in that one place in the investor portal.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. And so, I understand the need for that flexibility and learning how to do the investments and everything like that. So I'm going to ask you, if you had something a piece of advice for a nurse that's thinking about getting involved with this, how would they do that? How would they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I love connecting with other investors, so nurses who are interested in this stuff. I have tons of free resources on my website, on my social media accounts. I'm very, very active. I love to show people an inside look into my life as a nurse, as a mom, as a real estate investor. So on my website, networthnurse.co, I have a lot of different resources. If you're just getting into this for the first time and even want to understand return metrics and how we calculate those and what those look like and how to compare them to your 401k account, I have a blog about that. And then also Willow Investment Group is our real estate investment company. That's where you would find out more information about our specific investments that we have open and available to nurses.
Okay. All right. That sounds great. Now, let's say I was wanting to invest, just so our people can get an understanding. What would be like an initial amount, right? How much would it be that you'd have to get into this?
Yeah, so anywhere between $30,000 to $50,000 is where our investments start, and then they can go anywhere into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. But starting around 30 to 50,000, and our goal is 100% ROI for investors. So 100% return on investment, meaning that if you invest $50,000, our goal is to get you that $50,000 back plus another $50,000 on top of that. That's paid out through the lifetime of the investment, with the majority of the investment coming when we sell the building. But you are getting the quarterly distributions every 3 months thereafter. And we're looking anywhere between 15 to 25% averaged annualized returns. And this is the number that you'd want to compare to the stock market, which historically does around 6-7%. So again, another way that nurses would have a way to diversify their income, ways that you can grow your money at a lot better rate. I have a lot of nurses and doctors invest through old retirement accounts. So that's something that you can do, which is really cool for these investments. But we are, looking for that 100% ROI between a 3 to 5 year period.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, as a person who started her own business doing this, which I think is phenomenal, what piece of advice would you give to a budding entrepreneur?
Education. I mean, start with learning. There is a lot when you're seeking out and trying to do things that's never been done before as an entrepreneur, right? And building your own business. There's a lot of things that you need to learn, having the humility to do that, and also connect with other people who are doing what you want to be doing. There's social media really opens the door for you to connect and just share tips and tricks with other people. And I have found so much value in connecting with other nurses who are interested in money and real estate investing. Like that was a huge priority for me as I launched my social media brand. Any other nurse who was out there talking about money or real estate, I made it a point to connect with them, to hop on a call, to get to know them, to see if there's any way that we could collaborate and share resources. I mean, ultimately, aligning with people who have similar missions and visions, I have found that piece to be very, very valuable.
Awesome. Okay. And then I see that you have a gift for our listeners or a promotion, the Financial Freedom Bundle. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I've received so many questions over the years from nurses on how to get started in real estate investing, how to get started with their personal finances. And I have 2 courses right now. I have a real estate investing right now course that really dives into investing in real estate from a high level view, but also gives you the actionable steps on how to find a property, how to get the financing, how to get property management in place, how to look at underwriting and put things in a spreadsheet. And so a real estate investing course, and then also a personal finance course. So how to manage debt, how to pay off debt, different ways that you can start investing your money, different things to take advantage of with your employer, like an employer match, HSA accounts, things like that. So really covers all the fundamentals that you would need for personal finance and real estate investing bundled in one. It is called our Financial Freedom Bundle.
Awesome. So how would they get access to the Financial Freedom Bundle?
Yeah. So if you go into my link tree, either at networthnurse.co, on my Instagram account, you can find more information for that there.
Okay. All right. All right, so there you have it. Okay, do you have any additional words or piece of advice that you want to give us?
Yeah, I would just say I've talked to so many people over the years who are interested in changing their life and want to create more control over their financial future. And the people who I've seen be the most successful are the ones who are consistently taking action, being able to create a vision for yourself and some action steps to get there. That has paid off tremendously in my life and is something I can't recommend enough, just setting goals.
Awesome. Okay, well that is our show for today. I want to thank you, Savannah, for coming on. This has been really great and very enlightening for me, as a person who hadn't really thought about real estate other than owning my own home. So this is new for me, to think about these types of options that are available to nurses. And I know there's probably a lot of nurses out there that didn't know that it was available to them. So I want to thank you for sharing that with us. So those of you who want to get a hold of Savannah, please check out the social media links that will be listed in our show notes. Thank you for listening today. Please don't forget, if you're watching us on YouTube, to hit the notification bell and subscribe so that you know whenever we have new episodes come live. If you're listening to us through Podbean or wherever you get your podcast, we do appreciate a like and a comment. That is so helpful to us. If you know of a nurse entrepreneur that would like to come on the show and tell us about their business and their nursing journey, please reach out to the Nurse Shark Academy. We thank you and have a great rest of your day. Ready to turn your nursing skills into a thriving business? At the Nurse Shark Academy, we give you expert strategies, real startup guidance, and the support to go from employee to empowered entrepreneur. Join us and build the nurse-owned business of your dreams. Start today and join us at the nursesharkacademy.biz. Thank you for listening to the Nurse Shark Academy show wherever you get your podcasts or watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll know when all of our episodes come out. If you want further information, you can contact us on the nursesharkacademy.biz.